Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Ladd and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast. This is episode 237 and we are joined by a very special guest today who I will introduce you to in a minute. But I was thinking actually, Pete, earlier, I think in all 237 episodes, this is the first guest we've ever had who sports a tash, a moustache, without the
rest of it, yeah.
You know, I think it's the first time ever. So, and I was talking to a member at the gym earlier, and I showed her a few photos of Paddy, and she was like, "Oh, hello," you know. And I was like, "Okay." So anyway,
don't be so ridiculous, because like I was there at Sheffield a couple of weeks ago, and my missus was like, "Oh, Paddy, and I'm like, "I'm here." You know.
Deary me. So episode 237. Pete, how are you doing? Are you okay?
I'm doing very well. I love the power of this thing because, like I say, we were there at Britain's on whenever it was, a couple of weeks ago, and I texted James and just went, "We need to get this guy on."
Yeah, well, I don't
and then he just sent a message and was like, "Right, okay, done."
Yeah, well, like I say, well, anyway, we'll talk about this because I was watching it in France and you were watching it in person in Sheffield, wasn't it?
Yeah, great.
Britain's strongest man with Giants Live. So we are joined today by Mr. Paddy Haynes. How are you doing, Paddy?
Woo! Yeah, I'm all good, guys. How are we? Doing well?
Yeah, very, very good. Yeah, like I say, thank you so much for coming on because I know you are a very busy man now. You are certainly part of the kind of the new wave of strongman athletes in England, in the UK, in Europe, and soon to be in the world, I'm sure. So yeah, I know there's a lot of interest around you. You're growing massively on YouTube and social media. And I know you've been around the sport for a while, but it just sort of seems that now is kind of it's coming into kind of your time where you're moving into things in a big way. So I suppose first of all, Paddy, thank you so much for joining us. Are you in Oxfordshire at the moment? Is that where you are?
Yeah, I'm on the farm in Oxfordshire, so we're relying on farm Wi-Fi, which is famously not fabulous. So fingers crossed we stay with
Have you got a cow there, like sort of like?
That's why I got the door shut. There's a queue of just random animals outside. But yeah.
Okay, so Paddy is joining us from a farm in Oxfordshire, which is fantastic. And yeah, Paddy, I suppose really to begin with, we've got just under an hour with you, which is great, and then you're going to train at 3:00. Which is fantastic. So yeah, we just want to get to know you. We've got lots of stuff we can talk about, obviously. But I suppose we have had a number of kind of strong man, strong woman guests on the podcast, but we are not specifically a kind of a strong man, strong woman strength training podcast. But it's something that we're kind of very passionate about. We really enjoy. We really love. And we love talking to people, from all different kinds of backgrounds and through all different kinds of sports. But today, obviously, very much kind of strength and strongman focused. Do you want to tell us a little bit about maybe about your background? About kind of growing up on a farm, about how you got involved in training and things. And also, I think maybe we can touch on this later. I don't know. Do you have a master's degree in forensic accounting as well?
Yeah, he's done his research.
I have done my research. Yes, and that's unusual. I'm sure that's the first among the strongman community. But
would you believe I use it every day? No, I do not. It's I'll kick off if you like. So like
just talk from wherever you want to start from. Yeah.
So like I guess through like I was always like a good kid in school. Do you know what I mean? I was fairly switched on. I was sort of one of the cleverer, more clever kids. That's ironic. And like always very willing at sport. Never quite found my thing. I was sort of useless at football, rugby, most team sports. I was very introverted as well, so I kept myself to myself. And then I looked PE teachers, like every time athletic season came around and cross country season and stuff like that, where most people would moan. That was my jam really. And it got to the stage where I was running so much, and the PE teachers during football and rugby season would just tell me to go for a run because I was much more useful doing that than on a football pitch. So I've always been a bit of a running joke there. But Yeah, so I went to uni in Portsmouth. First thing I did was sign up to the athletics team, and then I just became obsessed. I was absolutely just fixated with running, with training, both on the track. I was still doing a bit of jumping and stuff at the time, but mainly sprinting, long distance. I was just doing all of it. I was one of those guys that it didn't really matter what I did. I was pretty competitive. Obviously, I was very small. I'm a very skinny guy genetically. I weighed about 68 kilos when I went to uni, and I'm nearly 6'4". So I was tiny. I was like a rake.
Mm.
Um, and where it all started, I was still running all through university. I absolutely loved it. That was my passion. I've done 6 or 7 marathons. I've done an ultra marathon, which was a 55-mile race, which was just so much fun. But yeah, and then like basically what happened is in freshers, I moved into a house with 2 guys that went to the gym that were very built, filled out t-shirts, whereas I sort of everything just hung off me. So they sort of took me under their wing, and I started going to a pure gym with those guys. And honestly, within about 6 months, 8 months, I was lifting more weights than those guys, despite being like 30, 40 kilos smaller than them, which was really really cool.
Mm. And how do you kind of, so this is unusual, isn't it? I know that I know Mitch Hooper as well has done a lot of endurance, activities and done marathons and things like that. But I wouldn't have guessed from your stature now, like you said, you're around sort of 6'4", and what do you weigh in terms of kilos now?
So I'm about 125 at the minute. I did get up to 135 last Brits, but it wasn't good. It all
Okay.
went to my face, and I felt sluggish, and like so I stripped it right back. Started with a new nutritionist, and right now I'm like the leanest. I feel the biggest I've ever felt, despite not being as heavy.
Mm,
So we're slowly just kind of creeping that up now. Like we don't want to put any bad weight on. We just want to put good size on, and
mm,
um, I mean, as you guys have seen, like in strongman, like I make up points in the athletic events, the moving events, that sort of thing. So for me, getting huge isn't worth, for maybe 5, 10 kilos on my log press, sacrificing 4 good events where I might start losing points. But we're just going up slowly. My
mm,
ethos is doing everything in strongman like as safely as I can, as long-term planning as I can. I'm not one of these guys that's in the sport to win it once or to lift a certain number. I just want to be in the sport for as long as I can. Every time I get to set foot on the Giants live stage, it's an amazing experience. I absolutely love it. It's what I live for. I want to do that as many times as I can in my career.
mm,
That's really interesting though, because it like you get people who want to train and they go, well, I want to be strong and fast and fit and bulky and this and that, and they have like
Mm.
several different goals. And I found it really interesting because like when you took your top off at the thing, you're really lean, you're like Kodiaka, like really lean.
Oh, there's a compliment.
But no, and we've had him on the podcast as well. But no, but him in the carrying events and the actual endurance events, he's really good. But he's not necessarily as like outright strong as everyone else.
Mhm.
But the bigger guys really struggle in that, don't they? And it's like like Gavin was he passed out on the deadlift ladder, didn't he? And I think that was I don't know, but was it because of the sandbag event at the beginning? Did that do him in? So there was quite a bit of that. But for you, you still look really sort of sprightly after even the sandbag event, which finished most people off, I think.
Yeah, that's very much my sort of party trick now, and it's the most gratifying thing. Like when you go backstage, everyone is dead, like literally on the floor, like people are throwing up.
mm,
And like by the time I'd had a banana and I'm good to go, and it's like that's so gratifying for me because to me in my head I'm thinking, I might not be as strong as you, but I've worked harder than you, and that just
Mm.
showed there. Because I mean, like I won the event by 8 seconds as well. That's like I'm not tooting my own horn or anything, but like that's huge. I was so happy with that, and like I just put in such a good run on that first event, and I think people were watching that thinking like, "Oh, Paddy's turned up this year, isn't he?"
What was really good was your mobility as well, because getting under that bar. I mean, you're obviously tall, and you were just like straight under and then
Yeah.
back up with a bag and everything. When some people kind of struggle to
Well,
get
this
down
is
as
it,
well.
isn't it? Like, it's about where you can make time up. Like, the plan was for me to be off the bag for like a second at most and like have it back. Because, like, even if someone can pick it faster than me because they're brute stronger, by the time I'm sprinting back or I'm in between the bags, that's where I'm making the time up as well. But it was
mm.
just a class run, to be honest. Like, really, like, I think that's about as good as I could have done it. I reckon someone like Tom Stoltman probably could give me a good run for my money on it, or maybe like Pavlo. but I think it would hold up in any comp, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And so yes, so this kind of growing up on a farm and being brought up, because when we had Magnus on as well, Magnus for Magnusson, and he used to he grew up like on a farm in Iceland with his grandparents, I think, and he was kind of working on a farm, since he was about 10 years of age or something, And there is this kind of, obviously, this, I don't know if it's a cliche, or it's this farm strong kind of thing, where that certainly in America, I know a lot of the farming kind of guys who are maybe involved in wrestling and MMA and stuff. There's this kind of farm strength that you just develop from just being physical, like day in, day out. I mean, were you kind of active on a farm, like
Yep.
when you're a kid and stuff? I mean, how do you feel that kind of stood you in good stead?
It is such a cheat code. It's unreal. Like I've always said from day one, like my dad was the strongest man that I've known. Like back in like when he was sort of, younger, and like the stuff he could lift, the way he could just move, like doing the stuff he does. His hands are hilarious. That's where I've got my like grip strength from. But I mean, his wedding ring's like a Z+4 on the size chart, and he can't get it like past that knuckle anymore. Like his hands are hilarious. But so just like there wasn't a choice. It was like me and my dad. I've got a sister, an older sister as well, but like if something needed moving, like when I was a kid, even if it was like a case of I could pick it up and shuffle it, like we'd move it. Do you know what I mean? There was no like we can't do this. It has to be moved one way or another. It has to. But so like I think that was always ingrained on me, and like he was the most hardworking man I've ever met in my life. Farmers of that generation are just nuts. Like he's up at 6 every day. He goes to bed at 9, and he could have a bus pass now. That's the it's just absolutely amazing. So there was no like, Dad, I don't think I can do this. It was just like you wanted to not make him proud, but like just you don't want to be the guy that says like I can't lift this. It's just like you just learn, don't you? And I was throwing hay bales around and mauling sheep around and stuff like from a young age, and it's nothing like super impressive, but all the time you're doing that, and your normal kids sat watching telly or on the Xbox or something, you're just all the time like, even though you're not doing specific training, you're just picking up habits, and um, it's like I say, it's nothing spectacular, but it's just work all the time. You're using your hands, you're using your body. And I was a skinny kid, but I was like wiry strong. I think a lot of farmers are like, you wouldn't look at them, but then you go and arm wrestle a farmer in the pub or something, and he'll maul you any day of the week. Like they're wiry strong, and that's sort of I think where I've inherited like the back strength, the grip, and all of that. But like obviously the shoulder press is not day to day. It's not as natural a movement. Like there's less call for it. But like just picking stuff up, like awkward stuff, that is my absolute jam, and like that's the stuff that I think genetically I've got an advantage on.
Yeah, because I
It's
mean, obviously, I was just say, obviously, that the event name is Farmers Walk, isn't it? So Farmers Walks, and just like you say, picking up awkward objects, moving with them, and things. Yeah, that's okay. Pete, were you going to say something? Sorry.
No, I was going to say, because we've spoke a lot about, Paul McElroy and comfort zone expansion, and rather than going for an outright lift and displaying your strength, training's actually building the base of the pyramid wider, and then you don't need to know where the peak is, because it will be higher. And you've done that your whole life by this, because people get into it and then realize this sort of thing in their 30s and 40s and go, oh, I need to start training like what you've just said there. But you've been doing it like since you were born, by the sounds of it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, without knowing what for, but like everything happens for a reason and all that, and it was just like everything's aligned. And I guess I was always strong without knowing. Like the first time we went to a pure gym, I remember it because the guys I trained with, sort of looping back, I'll just do this the whole podcast. Like
No, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
They were very much like they wanted to look good. It was bodybuilding. It was not functional at all. It was just wanted to look good at uni, obvious reasons. And I always cared about more like what I was lifting than like how I looked, because I look, as soon as like when you're a lean guy anyway, like as soon as you start putting muscle on, you see it. So I think that was always the addictive thing for me. I slowly kept getting bigger and stronger, but I mean, I walked into a pure gym and put 180 on the bar and pulled it, and I was like 70, 80 kilos, and I had no idea what I was doing. I think I did a mixed grip. I think one hand was outside my leg, one was in. Do you know what I mean? Like I've seen Brian Shaw deadlift, so I was like super wide, like this is how I do it. And now you look back and you're like, oh god. But
Yeah.
I was always meant to do it. Do you know what I mean? I was always strong, just not big. Whereas like, so that's where I think people think I'm like really like not really small, but one of the smaller guys by choice. But it's like I just don't have the like if I got to 140, I'd just be like obese, I think. But I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe we'll get there one day slowly. But
Yeah, you'd really have to, because I think when we had Pavlo on, he said he was about 135, I think, something like that. 130, maybe
Yeah, but 5 of
135.
that's beard.
he's very tall
Yeah,
as well, Pav. He's a tall
yeah,
guy,
he is
Yeah.
tall.
surprisingly tall.
I met him and stood next to him, and he, like these guys, you always say, we say to people, on the podcast, or people say, oh, yeah, Pavlo's one of the smaller guys, or maybe you're one of the smaller guys,
Mm.
but you actually stand next to one of the smaller guys, and they're still towering above you, and like I say, 125 kilos, 130 kilos, something like that is still a big man. It's just when you're comparing to someone like Tom Stoltman, who's maybe, I don't know, 6'8", 6'9", 30 stone. Everyone's a small man compared to someone his size, aren't they? So that's interesting then, that you did kind of develop quite quickly in terms of once you started lifting weights, because you've obviously got that endurance kind of background to you, and you say you've ran like a number of marathons, and you've ran an ultra marathon and things. I mean, did you just start eating and consuming sort of like lots more calories once you started training, and you just started developing and putting on size that way? I mean, yeah, because you would imagine that someone who's that good at the endurance stuff would struggle to put on size and strength,
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Again, I don't want to sound like too like self-confident, but like I was always a bit of like a freak athlete. Like when we had like uni competitions, like I could mix and match whether I'd do like a 5K or I'd sprint. And I'd normally do all right. Like anytime we did like a VO2 max or something, I would always like I'm so hyper competitive, I'd do it again until I won.
Mm.
Like competing against like cyclists and people and like just like I've always been like I knew I was going to be good at something. I just don't think I ever found the thing because as soon as I was running and training every day through uni, and like I always say, like I attended an odd lecture here or there as well. Um, but that was like where my passion was, and I just had a bit of a realization with the running that like I'm a tall guy, got size 13 feet, big hands. Like I'm just not built for it. Do you know what I mean? I was good. I could have got maybe another 5% better, but that was nowhere near like the Olympic qualifying standard or anything like that. And yeah, I was just like, I didn't lose interest in it, but I started doing longer and longer distances, like more like challenges than like competitive races and stuff. So like trying to get the sub 3 hour marathon and stuff like that. Um, and just like pushing myself a bit, like just trying to do freaky stuff as opposed to like racing, because I was just getting no faster. I was getting heavier slowly and bigger, and like I was having to work a lot harder. Like when I used to run, I could just run for hours and I just wouldn't get tired. Like I could literally, I think I could run like for 7 8 hours and like I'd have been fine. Whereas like towards the end, like I'd be doing a 10K and I'm like, I feel heavy. Do you know what I mean? Like my legs were
Yeah.
work because I actually had bigger quads and stuff. They're getting more lactic acid in them. Whereas because I was a rake, like it was no effort for my body. So it just naturally came, and like I started putting more. I sort of my like effort distribution went more to the gym than running.
Mm.
Um, just because it's what I enjoyed more, to be honest. I never used to train for the running that much either. I was a bit of a irritating case on that because like I'd just race every weekend and that would be I'd go for a couple of runs in the week, but there was no structure or anything. It was just like I'd just go by feel.
Mm.
But it was just never I'd never get that excited about training for like athletics. It was more just like I love the racing, I love the competition.
Mm.
Whereas like gym training is like the best part of my day. I absolutely love it.
Mm.
We've had a fair few people on here who are like older trainers in their 50s, 60s, say. I'll say older, that's still not that old, but like Dan John and Mark Rifkin and stuff like that. And what they talk about is for younger people training, just do everything.
Mm.
And you'll get fairly good at most things, and then you can start to specialize. Because lots of people, like with kids, will, in the beginning might go, I want you to do this, or I want you to do this. And it's like, just let them do a broad range of things, and then they'll gravitate towards something. So it sounds,
Yeah,
again, you've naturally done that, which is
yeah,
amazing.
just by coincidence more than anything. But I don't think specializing in strongman when you're young is the best thing. Like I put in like 4 years just at a pure gym of like building a base strength and physique before going over to strongman. I got myself to about 100 kilo body weight and then started strongman and started in the junior scene. But the the guys you see that are like freaks when they're like 18, 19 tend to be off the radar by the time they're like 22, 23. Like they've either lost interest because you do at that age. Like you know, when I started strongman, I was 23 and I was like, yeah, this is like, I can see myself doing this. But like when I was 18, 19, 20, I thought I wanted to be a runner. So like your brain changes. And if you can just be generally prepared, get yourself stronger, faster, fitter, you know, sort of like, you know, you just, whatever you then want to do, whether it be strongman, CrossFit, high rocks, want to be a footballer, you know, like go your own way, but like just have that base of power.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because it's pretty much every podcast we do now. Someone mentions high rocks. There's a guy called Ben who's been on the podcast twice, and he's a mate of ours. And he messaged me today, and he said I nearly got through the week without someone mentioning high rocks, but someone mentioned it to him this morning.
Sorry, that's my girlfriend's influence. She does the high rock stuff. So
that's all right. It's where
I'm probably going to be dragged.
friendly
I'm
zone.
Be dragged around one this year for sure, but yeah.
So what does your training look like now then? Because obviously so we've spoke about this a lot as well about because everyone's training looks different, you know, and we ask like people like to display their strength in the gym, don't they? And you know, try and do it like once a week or once a month or whatever. And when we spoke to Pavlo as well, he said like, you know, he doesn't know what his max deadlift is. He doesn't care because he doesn't need to know because he just needs to know how many reps he can do with the weight on the day in the competition. So what does yours look like? Because you've obviously started out in this build your base and like, you know, the big comfort zone expansion thing of like, because we have a guy called Paul McElroy on who's actually both of our trainers, and he talks about this and he says, you know, you train within your comfort and just you have a goal that's outside of your comfort zone, and your comfort zone will grow and envelop the goal. So therefore you just become stronger naturally, which you've naturally done from when you started, basically. So what does it look like now? Has it evolved and changed, or do you still train the same way? I mean, obviously you must have a trainer, so it's up to how their kind of philosophy on it. So how does it look now?
Yeah. John's my coach. I trust him wholeheartedly. Like, I think that's the best thing you can have, like that coach-athlete relationship. But depends very much. So like, we'd sort of entered like an off-season block, which is very. I think the easiest way to describe it is what I always coined power building. So like you have your compound lifts, but then I'm doing a ton of hypertrophy work as well. And that's always the sort of thing I used to do. Like back when I was training with my best mate, like he can't pick up a barbell without getting injured. He's an absolute machine merchant, loves like the bodybuilding pump sessions. I'd go an hour early so I could deadlift or I could bench or something, and then we'd meet and do a bodybuild. So like that's what I need for my head though, just to have some sort of progress. Like I know I'm getting better. So for me, like during the week, my sessions at the minute, I'm doing 2 sessions in like a commercial gym, which would be like my hypertrophy sessions, so an upper and a lower usually. Just trying to, because all we're trying to do now, guys, is like just put size on and just get bigger, get that, like you just said, then the base of the pyramid bigger, so then we can peak more from it. But and then I'll have a couple of sessions in the farm gym, which is obviously the gym we've built on the farm, which is just bliss, and it's just me and my training partner, and it's, you know, we get stuff done, we work very hard, and we have a good laugh doing it, which is more like the strongman movement. So like log press, you know, I'll probably deadlift at the farm because I don't want to be deadlifting in commercial gyms for obvious reasons and stuff like that. And then we have a big Friday like group event session, which is probably my favorite time of the whole week really, where like there's normally like 6 to 8 of us. A lot of the guys are training for a show I'm hosting next weekend. So it's been like really fun watching them all do their thing. I'm doing my Giants Live thing, and we just all train sort of together, but just at the same time. And like everyone's cheering each other on. And it's like a 3-4 hour gym session. We go and get a naughty cheat meal after. And it's like, that's what I live for.
I love it because I was talking to some, I was about to say I was talking to some young'uns the other week, but they're all like 25, so they're only just a couple of years younger than you. But anyway, but I was asking them because it was interesting in Sheffield. It was kind of like there's almost a changing of the guard going come on, because there was you, Shane Flowers, and Andy Flynn, Glasscock, all of these like new people coming through. And it was like a completely different field from last year. Like Paul O'Dwyer wasn't there, Mark Felix is retired, you know, all of this sort of stuff. So it was like a new lot coming through, which was amazing. And so I was asking these guys who aren't into all of this, you know, I was like, they might not be aware of what's going on. But I was saying, do you know who Jeff Capes is? Because obviously there was the memorial for Jeff Capes as well. But and they didn't know. Whereas everyone from mine and James's generation, we all knew who Jeff Capes was, like a cultural icon. You know,
I
if
was
you had
going
to
to say,
lift
you
a
say
sofa,
strongman, and
yeah.
yeah.
If someone asked you to help them with lift a sofa, you'd be like, I'm not bloody Jeff Capes, you know, like that was a thing. Whereas that doesn't really happen now, but it's starting to come back, I think. So what do you think about that? And how, like, I mean, you've been in it for a few years, but are you starting to see more kind of support for it, do you think?
I think so. I think it's certainly getting there. Like I'm one of the more like outgoing strongmen on social media and stuff. Like I'm pushing YouTube, I'm hosting comps, posting on Instagram and stuff. I'm just trying to do my bit to grow the sport, because like if you can grow at the grass level, then you're going to filter more people through to the top level ultimately. And like yeah, it's just a different vibe. Like obviously, like recently when Eddie Hall was winning, that was sort of like, I think they called it like the era of the Giants, where like it was just powerhouses, and like like you needed to be 180 kilos or you wouldn't have a chance. And since like the evolution of the sport, which has mainly been forefronted by like Mitch Hooper, let's be honest, like very very athletic, same as like Pavlo. Um, it's a new sport now, really. Like it's still heavy, but like we're I feel like the athletes now, as opposed to being like powerlifters that can move, are more like big CrossFit athletes that you can tell they're athletes. Like Pav is absolutely chiseled. Most of the guys have abs, um, but are just freakishly strong and freakishly powerful as well. Like it's not the brute strength so much anymore. It's a lot about technique um, and just having the fitness. Like I say, that was a 5 event comp done in 2 hours 15. I think it was the fastest Giants live show ever, from what I've heard. And it's like old Eddie Hall would have struggled, because he would have been so gassed after that first event, like we saw with some of the other guys. And you could tell who'd done their homework and who'd adapted to it. It was the same as when I think when Brian Shaw was trying to win his fifth, and he kept going into these shows so big and heavy, and you could tell he was the wrong size for these comps, because there was nothing heavy enough to warrant being that big. Even though he probably was the strongest guy there, he wasn't winning any shows.
Yeah. Oh, so let's touch on the kind of thing that I know you're kind of very into, and that you're kind of very well known for as well. This kind of the strongman grip don, this kind of strong,
Hmm.
this grip training and things, which obviously really translates from, like we spoke about, farm strength, and this strong hands and
Hmm.
grip training and things, because obviously kind of the grip kind of controls everything, doesn't it? And your hands are obviously the point of contact with any implement you try and pick up. So obviously the stronger your grip, potentially the stronger you can be. And many people, I think that's maybe their weak link in the chain. So how did you get involved in kind of grip training specifically, or why did you kind of lean towards that? Was that just something because from an early age you realized the importance of it, or?
Yeah, so I tend to enjoy stuff if I'm good at it. So I think like from an early age, I was like, I knew my grip was quite good just from messing about. Like, I used to be coached by Loz when I first started the sport and I first got into it. Loz was very into his grip. And he had like a rolling handle at the gym. And I remember I went to train with him and I could do more than him. And that was very much like, what? Like, he's never seen someone lift that. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'm good at this. Like, I know I had big hands, but like, I didn't think I was anything special. And I did a strongman comp 2021, like a local show. It was called Bridge End Barbell League or something like that. And there was a grip event in it, which was it was like 3 implements you had to pick up, and then a Dinny Stone pick up and hold. And Gods of Grip sponsored it. And yeah, I won that event pretty comfortably. But then Gods of Grip came up to me and offered me a sponsorship. They were a fairly new company back then. Didn't have any other athletes or anything like that, and like now we're like really really close mates, and thanks to those guys I've been able to sort of go literally all over the world doing grip, which is I got into it just because I wasn't ready to be doing international grip shows of that level. So it it got me to the Shore Classic, which is a huge huge event. I did the pro arm lifting there. And like there's no way I was going to be selected for the strongman last year. Like I'm not that standard. So I got to have the whole comp experience all the other athletes did. I competed in front of the crowds. And I came third in the grip, which is really, really cool. Obviously, it's not what I want to. It's a good side quest. I like doing it alongside the strongman, but like I'm devoting less time to it in 2025 than I did previously, because I think for me now I just need to focus on strongman, and then like grip will always be there for me. Like if I can't do strongman anymore, I'll probably go and be an absolute freak in the world of grip. But like my grip is very good, but like I just can't devote training time to it, because I just find like to do enough to compete in those comps, I was just getting tendonitis in my elbows a lot. My wrists would feel banged up, even my hands like torn calluses and stuff. And then if I've got to then go train events the day after, like, and I can't, or I've made it harder for myself, it's not worth that sort of risk. Like, I'll keep it ticking over, but like, it's just not a focus for me at the minute. As much as that pains me, but yeah, just fell into it. Was really good at
It's
it.
like you
And
say,
liked it.
if you really wanted to kind of compete on the world stage and maybe get as good as you could be, you'd have to really specialize in that, wouldn't you? And then that would take away from what you're doing. Just out of interest, I mean, I know a lot of people, we've spoke about them a lot on this show. The captains of Crush, the hand grippers from Iron Mind. I mean, do you know what you can shut in terms of those captains of
Yeah,
grippers?
I've got a 3 and a 3.5. I can't close the 3.5, and then I can do the 3 pretty comfortably. But the hand grippers are not my ball game at all. Like, it's like a running joke on the grip, like because we do a grip podcast every now and then, and like I hate the things. Like I think they're a good tool when you first start out, but everyone's like, it's like how much do you bench, and it's like, bro, like okay, right, we don't normally bench, and all of this. It's like, what hand grip can you close? It's like,
Yeah.
well, I can do a 3, but I just don't like training them. So,
Is
but yeah,
that like
three.
the Monday of hand grip? Monday is gripper day, like bench.
Yes, I like big dumbbells and like axles and stuff. I don't care about fiddly little tools like that.
No, but the reason
Hang on, did I see on your Instagram story someone closing a 4? Was that? Or was
No,
that?
that was just a wind up. That was.
I was gonna say, like, Jesus.
That's my someone, because like all the Q&A questions I get are grip related, because people love it, and like I like it too, and I like talking about it, and I like watching it. But Daisy not interested in grip whatsoever, bless her. And like I just put that up as a joke. Like it was like the lightest gripper we have, and she struggled with it. So I was like, right. And then people believed it, and I'm like, oh god, now I have to explain it.
Well, you said it here, so it's all, at least 3 people will hear it. So
I'm a fraud. Well, Daisy's a fraud.
Yeah. No, because I mean, I mentioned because that's something, like that's like it's that question, isn't it? What do you bench? Like you said, it's a kind of the grippers. People, a lot of, I mean, even many people outside of this kind of world wouldn't know what the captains of crush grippers are, but people who kind of are into, they've probably got an idea of the kind of tension, so it gives people a kind of a perspective. But yeah, certainly closing a 3 anyway. And like you say, you've got big hands, and that's amazing. Do you do the what's the is it the Saxon bar deadlift, where it's like a rectangular bar that you kind of pinch?
That's a bit more of me. Yeah.
That's a bit more of you. Yeah.
So we at the Immortals Grip Wars, which is like the European Championships. I've never really done it on the bar they had. I've got, because they do different size bars and stuff, but it was like a 3-inch by 4-inch, and we just kept going up, and I had no idea what I was capable of. I think I jumped in on 80, and then it was 5 kilo jumps, and I won it with 120, I think. So like I did. All the other guys jumped in at about 105. I'd done like every round. I was my hands were like fried by the end. But yeah, I'm quite good at Saxon bar, which is.
So is that a 3-inch like thick Saxon? Yeah. So that's what you're pinching. You've got like a 3
exactly, yeah.
Between, okay, wow, okay.
Yeah, it's real cool. It's like people. It's one of them as well. Like it looks like it should be easy, and then you try it, and you're like, okay, no, this is serious.
Yeah.
But like, do you know, like, Iron Bibby like randomly broke the world record on that. Like, just like, oh, cool. Bibby's just got a world-class grip. Who knew?
Again, he's just a massive guy, isn't he? So he's like
nature, man.
Yeah. That's incredible.
I saw it's a similar thing. It's not the same, but there's a gym, the Gym Revolution. It's in Nailsea, and they do a competition, a strongman competition every year at a agricultural show. So there's the North Somerset show, and I think Mark Felix is going to be there this year and stuff like that, and Ryan England does the comparing and stuff. And but I was there a few years ago, but I think it was the first one they put on, and Loz was there. And and they had the big like wheels, like the big deadlift axle deadlift thing. And he just went along just to test it out, and he was like, he just did a few deadlifts with it. And he went, yeah, that's all right, And he was like, imagine if he goes, if I couldn't lift it, we'd be struggling, wouldn't we? Because it was all just like having a strongman, It was amazing.
And just to touch on stones, which I know we mentioned that the Britons recently, you actually won the final event, the stone run, which I think culminated with the 200 kilo stone, and you went head to head, I think, with Gavin Bilton on that. Did you? Were you? Was
Yep,
he?
yep.
Yeah, and you finished. Obviously first on there, and I don't. Did he finish the? I can't remember.
He did. He got all 5.
He got 5, but then he nearly went
again.
Didn't it? Yeah. But you obviously got those quick. I mean, so that's the 200 kilo stone, and obviously I think it maybe is it 120, 130, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. I think. And you mentioned, you're around the 125 kilo body weight. So is stone something that you enjoy? Is stone lifting something that, because it's a very kind of rustic kind of natural kind of event, isn't it? So is that something you like? Yeah.
100%. I was really proud of my stone performance, mainly because obviously I had the huge mishap on the log, and my head was sort of like in a bad place, and I just managed to sort of turn my headspace around and be like, right, I messed that up, let's go out. So like most people wouldn't be able to do that, like to get over an event like 0 like that and come out and win the next one. I was really proud of. But stones have always been my absolute favorite. Like I love a deadlift, but stones is like, I think most people on the sofa, like if you think strongman, you think stones. And last year I lifted a new English record. I have to say English because obviously Tom Stoltman is a mutant. So I lifted a 250 kilo Atlas stone onto a platform, which is I think there's a few guys that have done a 240, but Jason from Spartan Atlas Stone said he'd do me a 250. I'm one of his athletes, and always been really just like decent at stone lifting. Like there's no weak link there for me, which is nice. That I went slower than I could have done because in my head I was worried about the first stone, not the heavy ones. Like the heavy ones are fine. It's that like because it's
so
about
high.
it's about my eye level, and I don't have the shoulder strength to press a 120 stone. Like some of the guys can get it here and then just pop it up, whereas I needed to make sure it was on, otherwise it would fold me. So it was all about getting the hips through and like popping the stone. Once that first one was on, that was fine, but I didn't expect to see Gav like go out the blocks as fast as he did. So as soon as because Gav was ahead of me literally till the last stone. I sort of caught him on the 180, and then like obviously I did the 200 really quick and pipped him. But yeah, I don't think many people saw that coming. Whereas Europe's, it's the same stone run, so the plan is to I'm just gonna full send it at Europe's. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. But let's just see if I can take like a couple of seconds off that, like because like guys like Kieliskowski are gonna be absolute freaks on the stone. So if I can hang with those guys, it'd be really really cool.
Yeah, because I was out in Iceland for the Magnus Classic in November, and Mateusz Kieliskowski was out there. He won the event out there, and they were doing a lot of the natural stone lifting out in Iceland, so the really rugged. Do you like doing the natural kind of stones as well as the Atlas stones?
Yeah, so when I started with Cerberus, like we went up and filmed a YouTube video up just lifting all the Scottish stones. We did like a stone tour. We took like a 4x4 and had a few nights out and like camped wild. It was so fun, and that's if I ever go missing, I'll probably be up in Scotland somewhere. I can't lie.
Are you aware of David Keown, Indiana Stones as well? Have you seen him? Look him up on Instagram. We've had him on the podcast a couple of times. He's an ex-kettlebell sport athlete. He's similar age to us. He's like 48, 49, but he started getting into fitness when he was like 30 because he was a fat bloke who like Irish bloke who went to the football. But he's been uncovering all the Irish stones. There was none on the map, and now there's like 40 odd of them, and he's just uncovering them all over the place. He's been doing it since COVID. Through lockdown, he couldn't go to the gym, so he started lifting stones in his garden. And then he's now like a cultural Irish icon, and he's been on Tommy Tiernan's show. So look him up. Yeah, you might be interested in that. You might end up doing a tour of Ireland or something as well, because it's.
I'll be well up for that.
But they're all huge. They're like 170, 180 kilo stones, a lot of them, and up. So. Yeah.
in like a pile of mud as well. That's what makes it fun.
Most of them are in graveyards by the looks of it.
Oh, really? Oh,
That,
there you
yeah.
go.
He goes out with like a weed whacker in a in a strimmer through brambles and everything and finds these stones. It's amazing to watch.
I like that.
Did you watch, Paddy, the Stones documentary that Maximum Iron did with Cerberus? It's all about the Scottish stone lifting.
I think I watched it a long
Stones.
time ago, but yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah. Because
I could get into that sort of thing.
yeah, because the guy who made that is doing a second movie, a second documentary, all based in Ireland, all around the kind of the historic sort of stone lifting culture there. So no, that's really good. So you just literally, as we're recording this, yesterday you confirmed you were invited and you confirmed your place and your participation in Europe's Strongest Man, which is going to be on the 5th of April in Leeds. Is that the first time you've done Europe's? That will be, won't it?
It will be. Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about that? Because you've obviously you literally, just in case people don't know, you literally missed out on the podium at the Brits by like half a point. And like, I think you said if you'd got one rep on the log, you would have podiumed and got like an automatic invite, I think, to the World's Strongest Man this year. So going to Europe's now, what's your kind of mind? I mean, this podcast is going out on the 14th of March. So that's about 3 weeks away from when people are listening to this. But I mean, what's the kind of mindset going into Europe's now? Are you positive and, wanting to go and have another really solid showing?
Yeah. So normally, like, because it's another step up, I'd just be saying like, I want to go, have a good time, get a good experience. But looking at the events we've been given, I'm not sure if I'm allowed. I think that no, they've been announced, haven't they? So we can talk about the events. Yeah, it's fine. They're really good for me. Like, there's a press medley to begin with, which starts with a dumbbell, which is fine for me, so I can get points on the board. That's the main thing. I don't know how far I'll get in that press medley, but I'll start okay, get the press done. And the thing with Giants Lives, if you look at all the Giants Live shows I've done, I think I've won the last event. I think it's like 5 out of 6 times or something. Like, my curve is normally like that, and it will be the same for this one. Like, there's 4 events there. That I could win on a good day, and I do think I'll get at least one event win on the board at this one as well. Like, and that's just, you can't control what other people do. I have like set expectations for how I want to perform in each event, but we're certainly going to go and make an impact. I don't think it's a case of, I'm filling in the numbers. My main target is to beat Andy Flynn because he's got the better of me like 2-3 times in a row now, and it's not right.
Yeah, he's great though. I know that, like, there's, like you said, there's yourself, there's Andrew Flynn, there's Ben Glasscock, there's people, but Andrew Flynn, because I've been to the UK, the Ultimate Strongman, the UK's Strongest Man, the last couple of years in Nottingham and Cardiff, and then I think I'm going again in June back in Nottingham this year, and so I've seen him quite a lot, and then I saw him at the Royal Albert Hall last year in July when I think he podiumed. I think he came 3rd at the Royal Albert Hall as well.
No, I think he was like 5th or 6th. I think.
Oh, was he 5th or 6th? He didn't podium there.
No.
Okay. But no, he's doing really well, and you're as well. But so you're kind of going a bit head to head with him at the moment, are you? Where you're both kind of nip and tuck, kind of who's getting the better of each other?
Yeah, it's one of them. I got a lot of time for Andy. I do like him. He's a very good athlete. He's very like similar athlete to me. They always called him like the Flying Flynn. He's just more like, basically he's just well-rounded. So every time I drop points on it, like, he's beaten me twice in comps where I've zeroed the press basically. And it's, it is what it is. Like, I think, like, on average per event, like, I'm better, but then he's a better all-rounder, so like he's just more consistent than I am. But I've beaten him a few times, then he's beaten me more. He's probably beaten me more than I've beaten him, but again, he's a little bit older and a little bit wiser, I think. Maybe, who knows.
You've just given us a good soundbite there for the current way the world works. We can just clip it, and you've just said, "I'm better than him." So we'll clip that out, put it on Instagram. We'll start a war between the two of you. They should be friends.
He beat me by half a point. I didn't do an event, so
yeah.
Take it.
Yeah.
I like Andy.
I was only joking, by the way. We won't do that. Don't worry.
No,
Get a
Online
clickbait in.
podcast.
excellent. So yeah, so you got Europe's Strongest Man in April, and then have you got any other kind of shows that you're competing in, kind of locked in, or will it very much depend on how Europe's go to like future invitations and stuff like that? And like you said,
Yeah, I
potentially
think
like the Worlds and stuff like that.
I think quite possibly. I am sort of hoping they take me to Worlds as maybe like a reserve or something. I don't know how it's going to work. It's typical for me, like the 1 year that I'd be the sixth athlete that goes, they've dropped the amount of people that go to World's Strongest Man from 30 to 25. So they only want to take 5 English athletes, which is totally fair enough. You know, it's how it works this year. But fingers crossed we get to go. At least go and watch or go and like just be ready on standby, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So who are the 5 English? So who would the 5 be? Because the
Or
Shane
do I
and
mean 5 from UK? Sorry.
oh, right, okay. I was going to
Luke,
say
Shane, Flynn, and the 2 Stoltmans are in, aren't they? So
yeah. I was going
Yeah.
to say because like you were fourth, so you're in there.
yeah,
But
no. Sorry,
yeah.
5 from Britain. Sorry, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
after that, I will be at. I think that my next one's in June, the UK Strongest Man on the Ultimate Scene. I'll be doing that one again, which is live on
Oh, so
Channel
that's
5.
in Nottingham, isn't it? That
Nottingham,
one?
yeah.
Yeah, I think the qualifiers are in Milton Keynes, which is right near me, which is
Yeah.
nice, and then the finals up in Nottingham. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because
then,
I'm going to that one again this year. Yeah.
How do you find that one compared to the Giants Live? Because we've been to those and it's like it's there's more time between events, but the events look way more brutal in that than they do in Giants Live.
again, like I really like Ultimates. Like, I don't want it to come across that it's so hard to compare them because Giants is so polished, it's so professional. Ultimates is a bit more sort of like rough and ready. Like, to be brutally honest, like the warm ups, you get less warm up. There's always like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like, it is faster paced, but like randomly. So like you'll do 3 events really quick, and then there'll be like an hour or two, and then whereas Giants, it's like, right, you got 10 minutes, guys. You know it's fast, but there we go. But
Yeah.
I tend to train for like the giant shows, to be brutally honest, and then like the ultimate shows, I'll sort of like, we might chuck the events in training for a few weeks or something, but it's more just like show up and just see how you compare type vibe. Whereas I think someone like Paul Smith probably is more focused on the ultimate strongman side of things, which is totally fair enough. Everyone's got the things they focus on, but for me, like, I just want to get to World's Strongest Man. That's like my childhood dream. So it makes sense for me to put all my eggs in that basket and do the ultimates and enjoy it and get what I can from it. But I'm not going to like kill myself at an ultimate strongman show and risk, missing out on England's and then missing out on Brits subsequently.
Yeah. Excellent. Did you know there's one, you probably do, I'm sure you do. There's one person who's gone to the World's Strongest Man as a reserve for the first time and got in and won the whole thing. Do you know who that was?
Magnus.
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah, good.
Magnus.
Yeah.
As he told you, but he doesn't like to talk about it.
Yeah. I love Magnus, man. He's a good egg. Yeah. I mean, that's just a cool story. I think I'd have it tattooed on me, I think, and like so I wouldn't have to tell people.
Yeah, no,
Pretty
you
cool,
say
isn't it?
so. That has been done before. It has been done before. Yeah, but it's
Yeah, you never know.
you never know. You never know. And then just as we start to kind of wrap up, you've got there's a show that you're running in April, 2 days, the 12th and the 13th, which is the Haynes Farm Open 2025. Is that held at your farm?
It is indeed.
Yeah.
So we're actually, I'm trying to host like a comp of some sort every month. The Haynes Farm Open's my big show. Normally we get like 80 athletes there. It's quite a big affair. And I try and make it farm themed, like, so it's in a barn or it's out in the field. Like, we do keg toss and stuff like that, which is really cool. Looks good. We've got like a throwing frame on like the back of a tractor, which looks sick. And it's all very farmy. Like, we've done bale push, tractor pulls, stuff like that. And people love it. People really like it. It's from novice all the way up to open, so like anyone can come and have a go. And I really do recommend it. Like, if you're just looking for a challenge, like, it's just fun. And we have a mystery event in every year, which people like to get wound up about, which I really like, because it's like, I quite like that. Like, as long as it's safe and it's something like everyone can do, let's do it. Let's just like, and people seem to love it as well because they keep bloody entering. So
No, it's great. And I think
Go
for
on.
people who are listening, you invite spectators along as well. I know there's a small fee for spectators, but all of that goes to to an organisation, I think, or a charity or something.
Yeah, Let's Play charity.
Yeah.
It's based. It's literally on our farm. We rent out a unit to them. Well, like they rent off their landlord or whatever. But it's a nice like kids charity for disabled kids in the area, and it just helps them. And we get to give a bit back. So that's it. And you know, to be honest, like it's not a huge venue, so like we didn't want to just open the floodgates to spectators and then like be absolutely overwhelmed. So it's just a nice way of doing it that we can sort of say like you can bring people, but we just ask for a charity donation to help those guys out as well, which is nice. And yeah, so that's sort of the second big comp, and then Oxfordshire's, which is the 1st of March, so it'll already have been when this is going out. This is like the next weekend for me, so that's what we're prepping for now. That's my like, it's an invitational only show, so it's like just the open level guys, but I'm trying to build like a show where they get sort of a higher comp experience from a local show, and like it's an invite only. You have to be from Oxfordshire to do it, because that's something I've always found weird. Is like I could go and do Devon's Strongest Man or something, but like I don't know, I'm not from there, so like why should I be Devon's Strongest Man?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's good because I was looking at you. I was looking at the Haynes Open thing, because you've got like a novice under 100 kilos and a novice
Yeah.
over 100 kilos, haven't you, and stuff like that. And
I just think like being a skinnier guy, like I just feel for the guys that want to give it a go. But then like, you know, I got a good mate Max that I train with, and like when he was a novice, he was 140 kilos. And like people would just go up to him and be like, "Oh, you're obviously going to win." And he's like, "Well, no, I've never done any of the events or anything." Like, but like people would just assume he's going to be good because he's an absolute unit of a man. But I wouldn't want to rock up at 70 kilos and be against that bastard.
yeah, yeah,
So it
yeah.
just
No,
makes
because
it a little
I've
bit more fair.
yeah, I've done a few kind of beginners and novice shows and stuff, and I might have a couple doing this year. But I was looking at that, the under 100 kilos one, you know. But like I say, we've got a guy who's going to do his first. I think he's going to be doing Ipswich Strongest Man or something in June, and he's a first timer, but he's like 40 and he's around the 140 kilo mark, you know. And like you say, but just because someone is really big, they do have they have the potential to get very strong, but it doesn't
Of
necessarily
course.
mean they're very strong from the off, does it? You know, they've
Well,
still
they might be like stronger on average, but it doesn't mean they're going to be any better at strongman than you. Do you know? That's
yeah
very much like the way the world works now. It's like the people that win comps now are the better strongman athletes, not
mm,
necessarily the strongest man in the
yeah.
lineup.
Yeah, no, excellent. And then just we've mentioned a couple of times your, you know, your YouTube that you're building and things like that, because I'm conscious that you're going to go and train in a minute yourself. What so on I know on Instagram you're at Paddy_strongman. I
Hmm.
just if you just go onto YouTube and type in Paddy Haynes, you come up.
Yeah.
What is there an official name of the channel that
Yeah,
you?
it's Paddy Strongman as well. Literally,
Yeah.
that's where you find me.
Okay.
We're doing so much on the YouTube now. Like we're trying to get 2 good videos out a week. Just really trying to push it because, like I say, the more people I can influence and get watching the YouTube. But if you guys want to support me, like watching the YouTube, subscribing to that channel, and getting any merch, we've got some fresh stuff coming in. Look, it's beautiful. All helps me out a ton. So that's the sort of
I
vibe we go for.
I heard you were going for, so you've got some new, like, are they grip shorts or some kind of shorts that you've got coming out with your,
Yes,
is that
with
the
odd
purple
objects.
as well, are they? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really cool actually. Like I've always worn neoprene shorts. I know a lot of strongmen do, but they brought out some like I don't know how to describe. They're just like a lighter, sort of less restrictive pair of shorts. They're really comfy. Like I just wear them around the house, but they're so supportive. And Odd Objects, really sound bloke. Tommy's a legend that runs it. He said like their most requested color when he put a poll up was purple, and then he reached out to me and said like, you know, we could do a collab, put my logo on it as well, and it's a very mutual thing. So they're going to be launching, I think, in April. So keep an eye out for those. I'll be plugging them left, right, and center because I really do believe in them, and that's very much my vibe. Is I'll only endorse or sell products that I would use myself. Like that's very much my ethos.
Excellent. And do you want to give a shout out to any of your sponsors? I know you've had a recent change. You've been taken on by
Yeah, change of
people and
guard.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So SBD and Odd Objects are both new, which is awesome. Gods of Grip, absolute legends. They're very close friends. Spartan Atlas Stones, Celtic Strength, sort me out with kit, and then Reflex Nutrition as well. Oh, and Williamson Cairo, my chiropractor. I'm very blessed. I have a very good circle. I'm very, very grateful. I'm just a, I'm just a normal sized man from Oxfordshire that's got big dreams and wants to take on the world.
Excellent. Well, that's a great way to wrap it up. That's fantastic. So we really do highly recommend that you certainly go onto Instagram, give Paddy a follow, go onto YouTube, subscribe to his channel, which is really flying at the moment. And if you are, I don't know, I've obviously subscribed to Official Strongman, so I can watch the live streaming of events. But I'm sure you'll see Paddy on TV at Christmas. If you don't see him anywhere else, you'll be seeing him on TV at Christmas at all the Giants live shows, and hopefully, touch wood, fingers crossed, maybe at the World's Strongest Man as well at Christmas, which would be amazing. Thank you so much, Paddy, for giving up your time this afternoon and speaking to us. It was really lovely to get to know you a bit more and let people meet you and hear your story.
No, honestly, my pleasure, guys. Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Brilliant. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching or listening. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to do so, especially Apple Podcasts is where we're trying to get our reviews up on there. We've got quite a few already. But if you leave us a review on there, we'll read it out online on air, and then we will send out some free merch, t-shirt, sweatshirt, hoodies, something like that. We will be back next week with episode 238. Until then, thank you very much, Paddy.
Peace.
He's waving. He's giving us a peace sign. Good. And thank you very much, Pete.
Double
Pete's
peace.
just giving double peace. Okay,
he's
brilliant.
one up me.
One thing I can be better than you at.
And we will see you next week. Until then, bye-bye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.